Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bravo Tea with the Stay at Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to get into some Orange County. Now, I feel like this week's episode was the same. Not too much drama happened, and you know why? It's because Katie Janela was nowhere to be found. I guess this was her absentee time, just like Tamra had the quote-unquote quit moment, but we didn't skip a beat with her in an episode. So not having Katie there, though, and not talking about the same thing is a breath of fresh air. I know we do like the drama because people do say, oh, we need to cut out the toxicity. Well, if it was all butterflies and rainbows, would you guys watch the show? It's true. But I also don't want every episode to be the same drama. I know we're going to get drama with these ladies. That's why we do tune in. But I don't like when it's the same thing over and over and over again. So it was a nice break to not have Katie there. We opened up with Shannon getting Botox. Then I was like, reminded me, like, I really need to refresh my Botox, but I'm trying to push it back a little because I have a couple weddings in November. And then, as you guys know, I'm going to BravoCon. So I'm waiting to go see my girl. Shout out Lisa Campbell in Delaware, nurse practitioner, injector phenomenon. She's wonderful. I had a little Botox party at my house last year in February, and I timed it right. I did it like 2 or 3 weeks right before my husband's surprise party, unbeknownst to him. And I was like, let's all just get looking like hot and fresh, like after the holiday, you know? And then he's like, okay, just oblivious, not realizing I timed it perfectly. So we would all be wrinkle free at his party. But if you guys listening are in the Delaware area or nearby Delaware, because, you know, tax-free shopping, swing by, get your Botox done with Lisa Campbell, and then go to the mall, go haywire without the taxes. But Ryan is washing his Cybertruck car, and I just gotta have an opinion right now, a Tamra Judge moment. It's my opinion. Number one, he would have a Cybertruck. But number two, I don't like the Cybertrucks. I don't like them at all. I have seen a couple at my daughter's school, and I don't even also know how you drive them. How do you look out the back windshield to back up and do things like that? I'm not into it. And if this is the future of what all of our vehicles are going to look like, I don't know. I don't like it. But Shannon is taking her daughters while they're on this Botox journey with her, and they're getting like the hydrofacial, it looks like, or something like that. And Shannon's like, you know, I'll do anything with the skincare and have my daughters do preventative skincare because we all know a facelift can be expensive. And that was a zing because they did the headline underneath of her, obviously, from all last season. We're talking about Shannon borrowing the money from John Jansen for the facelift. And this is what I am really curious about. So I did say on my episode when we talked about Shannon taking her dad out for lunch, it looks like Gene the Machine has some money. And her ex-husband, David Bador, had made the comment like, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. So obviously Shannon comes from money and the dad has money. So in a time of need, when you need some money, I'm shocked she didn't ask her dad and she asked John instead, especially because they did have a rocky relationship. And it's just always perhaps a little better to get it from your dad because he's your family and he's maybe giving Shannon money anyway. Like, I don't know. I'm just alleging and kind of openly asking questions. But that did strike me as just a question in my brain. I'm like, if she needed money, why didn't she ask Gene the Machine? And maybe she hasn't. Gene the Machine's like, the machine's closed for giving you money. The ATM machine is closed. But Tamra calls and invites her to Temecula with Gina and Jenn. And this is definitely, as Heather says later, Tamra's apology tour. So she needs to get Shannon and Jenn like alone without like lots of people involved kind of, and they hash it out. And I do like when they split up because it is true. Like, we'll get too many opinions. We'll get people just ganging up on people, or we'll get people like, I feel like if Emily would have been on this trip, she would have talked too much and we wouldn't have got Shannon and Jenn talking at all to Tamra, which obviously we'll get to at the end. But I did like that we're like kind of separating and doing this. But Shannon obviously has some hesitation to accept the invitation, but she also knows she can't really say no because this is her job and she's being filmed. So then Tamra goes shopping with Emily, and Emily looks great, but a little tired. She's explaining she's a little tired because she just came from a cheer comp, and I get that life. Dance comp mom, and now my youngest is joining the squad. So this is my second year with my older daughter, and then this is going to be my first year with my littlest one. So she's like a petite. And I did dance competition, but later my dance studio didn't get a competition team until I was in high school. So I never did it as a younger child, but I get that life, girl. Like the hair, the makeup, the costumes, the drive-in. If it's real far and if they're dancing, I know for us, multiple days, because there are multiple numbers as they get older, you gotta spend the night. So I don't think Emily, and then she said Gina's daughter was there too. So I don't think Gina and Emily's daughters, like, they'll ever really have to spend the night because they don't do multiple days like dance, because you just do your cheer, I'm pretty sure, and then that's it. I've never been to a cheer competition, but for dance, you do multiple routines, and they're spread out through Friday to Sunday is usually the typical. So sometimes we have to spend the night if you're dancing on like Saturday and Sunday. If it's far enough, it's just you have to make a whole weekend of it. But it's going to be fun. We kick off in January, so that's going to be when my life will really be getting busy, even though I feel like it's busy now, back to school, and they're at the dance studio multiple nights a week. But Emily, I get you, because she's like, it was in San Diego, so we had to wake up early because we had to drive, and then I had to do the hair and makeup, and Tamara's like, she needs a glam squad, and she does. Maybe Annabelle needs Bravo glam squad, just like her mom Emily gets. But Tamra is telling Emily that she invited the 3 women on a trip, and she said that Shannon is looking a hot mess when she FaceTimed her. And she's like, her hair's like that and her bra's out. And it's like, she was getting Botox and a facial. Relax. I don't look my best right after a facial. Like, your face is all red. You definitely don't look your best after Botox. Like, sometimes it's embarrassing if I, like, oh, I'm going to get Botox, and now I'm kind of like up in the vicinity. I'm going to go to the grocery store. Like, you have holes in your face and it's bleeding. And I just feel like Tamra does this. It's very hypocritical. And at the end, we'll definitely emphasize on why she's a hypocrite. It's like, you're saying she looks like a hot mess, almost implying that maybe she's hungover and like it's because the drinking is bad and she's just a mess since the DUI and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's why she can't trust you. That's why she has reservation. It's almost like Tamra gets mad at Shannon for not trusting her. And it's like, do you blame her? And Gina, Shannon, and Jenn go to lunch. And obviously Shannon is telling them that she has a reservation about going on the trip. And she said she talked to her therapist about it. And they're like, no, we're going to have a great time. We want like you to meet like men and like open your snack. And I'm like, Jenn, what are you talking about? I'm like, are you hiring male prostitutes to join you in Temecula? Because it's just you guys in this giant house that Tamra rented. When they showed the aerial view, I was like, oh my God. Now it kind of looks like Temecula's in the middle of nowhere, but it looks like wine country also. And I'm not sure how far away it is from Orange County, but I bet that house was not as much as we would think to rent it by looking at it, because it's in kind of an odd place. And for sure, whoever bought it didn't pay what you would pay if you picked that house up and plopped it into Orange County. Or, oh my God, could you imagine if that house was in Beverly Hills or LA? It'd be like $100 bajillion, $1 million. But I think Shannon is just getting burnt out of sweeping things under the rug for the sake of the show. It's like she knows she has to. She can't refuse to film with Tamra, because if she does, they're just going to fire her. And Shannon doesn't really have another income from what I understand. She had those teachers, but I think when she had her DUI, all that went kind of out the window. But I think it was also hanging on by a thread before that. I don't know if she still gets her alimony from David. I'm assuming she does because she hasn't gotten remarried. She doesn't get child support because the girls are all grown and she doesn't have a man to help her. So I do feel bad. I feel like Shannon kind of has to tough it out because she does need the income from the show. I'm not sure how much she gets from the show, but since she has been on for a while, she's definitely making more than like a Jenn or a Katie, of course. But Jenn and Emily go to a foster facility, and Emily is just telling Jenn how Shane needs to be like a little more loving and delicate with their son Luke that's going through all of the things. I mean, they're kind of saying he has autism, but I don't know if they 100% had him tested at this point. Now, fast forward to today, he does, like, it's confirmation. But remember, the brother is his twin. So twins have that like twin brain. So Keller, the brother, comes up to Emily and he says, "Can I go to therapy too?" Because he sees Luke going. And he's like, "I'm just really sad with everything that's happening. And I feel like I don't have anyone to talk to." And obviously that makes you so sad as a mom. So she said she's been giving so much attention to Luke that she kind of has pushed her other kids aside. And she's now realizing that they need her just as much as Luke needs her, but in different ways. And I just feel so bad for Emily. I mean, she is having a lot of mom guilt this season, and it's tough. And we've all been there, and we all have mom guilt every day. I have it every single day. It's like you struggle with like the listening and the following the directions. And after a while, you just get like burnt out and you do kind of raise your voice and you do lose your patience easier. And then at the end of the day, when they go to sleep, you sit and sometimes you reassess the day and you feel bad at parts of the day. You beat yourself up. You're like, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I did this better. And it's just, we're all going through it. So I really feel bad for Emily. And I know that it's tough that Shane is more the, oh, don't coddle him, because they showed a clip and they go out to eat and he's kind of like acting up at the table and Emily is kind of coddling him and Shane's like, don't cave into the bad behavior. And sometimes that is true. When you're in public, you obviously don't want to be the family that's like ignoring the kid because you don't want to coddle them and they're like screaming, because then it's like everyone's looking at you and they're like, hello, are you going to tell your kid to be quiet? So I think maybe that's what Emily was also doing since they were at a restaurant. But I get it. Her and Shane just have different outlooks. And Shane even said in his confessional a couple episodes ago, I am just tougher on the boys than I am the girls. And he's like, that's just, I am. And I get it. I get it. A lot of men would probably have that response. But he is learning to be more delicate with the situation because the therapist told Shane, instead of saying anything, maybe when he's having those moments, just go give him a hug. And that's it. Don't like say like, oh, everything's fine, or don't worry. Just a hug. It's just like a reassurance, like, hey, I'm here. But so it's like the middle. You're not coddling, but you're not being cold either. So I like that. And I mean, praying for Emily and Shane, that this is a difficult road that they're navigating, but at least once you have the therapist lined up, you have the help, hopefully it gets better and you see progress. But Heather calls Emily and invites her and Gretchen to an adult sleepover at her condo since Tamra is bringing her group, and this is when she says it, on an apology tour. And she said she wants to do this too because she knows Emily is stressed. So that's nice. It's not like a faraway trip, it's a day trip, because for once, though, they are going to Heather DeBrose in Beverly Hills, so she is not making the long journey to Orange County. I mean, I know that's rough for her to sit in that paid vehicle that she doesn't have to drive, and she's getting paid to do it, and it's paid for. Or taking like a helicopter to Orange County to film something and then leave. So all the women are packing, and whenever Shannon is packing, she's just packing with the dog, and it's sad. She doesn't have a man. Like, Gina's packing and she's talking to Travis, but sometimes it's better to not have the man there, because then he's like looking at Gina's new clothes and he's like, do you really need a whole new wardrobe for every trip you go on? And she's like, yeah, it just makes me feel better. And it's like, I hear you. I have a million things in my closet, but it is me and my husband's anniversary at the end of the month. And you bet your bottom dollar, I'm gonna get a new outfit. Just because I want to wear something new. Can't wear something old on the anniversary. You just can't. So I feel you, girl. But Shannon is packing all of this cookware in a suitcase. And I'm pretty sure the like $20 million house that you're going to be staying in has cookware that you can use. And I'm sure they didn't load it with stuff from the dollar store. I'm sure it's good quality. I don't know if Shannon is like into a non-toxic vibe, which is great. But I'm sure, again, they have non-toxic cookware because you can get inexpensive non-toxic cookware. I have inexpensive because no one has $500 per pan to spend unless you're Heather Dubrow. But I don't remember Shannon ever being this like erratic and kooky and not together. You know what I mean? She is kind of like a hot mess at all times. So I listened to Tamra on Jeff Lewis's podcast this week, and Jeff Lewis is close with Shannon. So Tamra wasn't saying anything that bad, but she was speaking the truth. And I agree with what she was saying. She said, I feel like Shannon puts it on and it's like a stick a little bit. I feel like she's trying to do like a Kathy Hilton thing, but Kathy Hilton, that's just her, like 100%. Ever since she stepped on the scene of the Housewives, that's just her, and you can tell. And Kyle even backs it up and validates that that's just her personality. And it's not so much like she's a mess. She's just like blurts things out and just does stuff. Shannon was never this out of sorts. I mean, she was very prim and proper when we first met her. She had a amazing over the top house with David that she had like crystals built into. Do we remember all that crazy stuff? And she had crystals in her teeth and whatever. Like, I guess she has no budget for that anymore. And one of her teeth, speaking of teeth, she doesn't have one when they're in the car. And she's like, yeah, it's been like that for a couple of years. I mean, maybe you should have used John Jansen's money on getting a new tooth, or Gene the Machine would probably throw you a tooth for like a birthday or a Christmas. Like, Shannon, I got it. I'll get you that tooth. But Tamra said it's just a little put on, she thinks, for the show. Like, oh, I'm just like falling over all the time and my bra's hanging out. And I will say, when she was at that lunch with Jenn Pedranti and Gina, the bra was hanging out a little bit at the top. Now sometimes we've all been there. We've all done that, And when you have the bigger bubbies, you can't wear a no bra or a strapless bra, You got to wear the full bra that gives you some lift and support. And that's what she was doing. But the tank top was a little low and the tan bra was hanging out. Now, it's not like it was anything crazy. It's not like she was being slutty and promiscuous. But yeah, the bra was out. But I get what Tamra's saying. And it is odd because we didn't see Shannon like that back in the day. But Tamra hires a sidecar company to pick them all up to go to this vineyard that they're going to. And this is also interesting. So Tamra ragged on Shannon's drinking a lot last year, but she's taking them all to a vineyard. And in New Orleans, she had a drink with Shannon at a bar. She said that on Jeff Lewis's podcast also, like, oh, me and Shannon did have fun and blah, blah, blah. Now, if you really believe your friend has an alcohol problem, I don't think you're going to be like, oh, let's go to this bar and buy me a drink. So it's a lot of hypocrisy with Tamra. That's what always gets on my nerves. But these side carts come up. It's like the motorcycle with the little sidecar. And it was giving me like Tom Sandoval and Tom Schwartz rolling up to the opening of Tom Tom. And you know what? So I saw on these helmets, it's like a company that does it. And I think the Toms would have been better off doing a company like this in like LA, like a Uber, like a motorcycle sidecar Uber, than opening Schwartz and Sandy's, to be honest, because where is that today? Closed, and they spent a lot of money. This would have been a lot less money, and it would have been funny. Like, I get why they're doing it in Temecula, less traffic, so maybe LA wouldn't be ideal, but I thought that was like kind of a cute idea. But of course, Shannon's like a hot mess on the carts. Like, she's got snot blowing out onto people's sunglasses from behind her. She's like blowing her nose in the open wind. And then they get to the vineyard and Tamara's like, oh, I got stuff on my sunglasses. Like, yeah, it's Shannon's boogers. I mean, ew. But Heather, Gretchen, and Emily go out to dinner, and Emily's like, oh, Heather's paying, so I'm ordering the Wagyu steak for 5 ounces of Wagyu steak. It was $149. And let's be real, Heather isn't paying, Bravo's paying, okay, because it's being filmed. But you can say Fancy Pants is paying. But before they approach the restaurant, this was another thing that it's like, Heather, you got to give it up because this is even more like you did it. So this random paparazzi person comes up, / could have been a paid actor, I don't know. And they're like, just to let you know, you never called the paparazzi in Disneyland. And I'm like, there would not be a random paparazzi on the sidewalk just saying this when they walk by. If Heather didn't plant the other paparazzi in Disneyland, she sure as shit planted this paparazzi on Rodeo Drive, stopping them dead in their tracks before they get into Crustacean, the steak place, which looks divine. It's getting a little fishy. It's like it really did happen, so she has to hammer it in that it didn't, and especially because she failed the lie detector test, quote unquote. She has to prove to these ladies that she didn't call the paps. We're over it by now, Heather. We got bigger fish to fry. But the other ladies arrive at the vineyard, and it's cute. And then they bring the spit bucket out because they're like, are we swallowing or are we spitting? And Jenna's like, yeah, you got to give it that huck too. And Shannon's like, what? And I'm like, Shannon, were you hiding under a rock when that girl did that?
I give him that huck too and spit on that thing. You get me?
It's like, no, Shannon doesn't get you. Shannon doesn't know what huck too means. But Shannon's probably like, I'm also not spitting this wine out. I want to drink it. I would do it too. Like when they give you the samples, they don't give you that much. I would spit it out if I don't like it. Or you just dump the rest that's in your glass, or you give it to the friend, okay? You're all paying for the wine tasting, aka Bravo's paying for it. But don't waste the wine. Don't put it in that bucket. And Shannon tells Jenn she just doesn't know how to move forward with Tamra. So they kind of separate. Shannon's fallen into the vineyard bushes with Jenn, and then Tamra is with Gina. And she's like, I just don't know how to move forward because Tamra is being so awkward at the table. And she was like, oh, I'm so glad Jenn likes me. And she's like, oh, and Shannon too. And it's like, just shut up and eat your cracker and cheese and huck too in that bucket. But Tamra tells Gina that Shannon holds a grudge. And Gina expresses to her that Jenn really feels that the photo was presented as a fat photo. So Jenn has never even seen the quote unquote fat photo. And like, I'm not trying to be mean, but it is a fat photo. She's clearly a lot heavier. It's not a flattering picture. We can call it an ugly photo if we would prefer to do that. It's not a photo that we're showing around making Jenn look great by any means. It's to hurt her and tear her down. So they go and sit down for a dinner. And Tamra says to Jenn how she felt like the relationship changed in her eyes looking at Jenn and Ryan. So when Eddie and Tamra went to Cabo with Ryan, he said, I think I'm in love with Jenn. And they said, but she's married. And he said, well, he's going to leave her husband for me. And when we got back from that trip, Eddie just said he felt like he was dirty. Well, and then in Shannon's confessional, she's proving the hypocrisy of Tamra. And she said, Tamra, do you forget that you had an affair on your husband, Simon, with Eddie? I mean, it's true. We don't throw stones in a glass house. And this is the same thing. Jenn was married, had an affair with Ryan, and now her and Ryan are going to get married. So back in the day, Tamra was married to Simon, had an affair with Eddie, and then got married to Eddie. It's perpendicular to what Tamra did. Now, yeah, Tamra sat in the back of that limo and was like, I want a divorce, but then they didn't get divorced right away. So you could say, oh, well, the marriage was over, but no, it wasn't. And not for Simon. He wasn't stepping out on Tamra. Until the marriage is over, it's not over, okay? Like Brittany and Jax, the marriage was over. It just wasn't legally signed yet on paperwork, but they were living separately. And it was like 100%, we're divorced. We're getting divorced. So when he would be like, oh, we're still married. And it's like, No, you're not. No, you're not. So Jenn finally asked to see the photo that has been circulating. And she's like, oh, I look disgusting. And then in her confessional, she said, Tamra is insecure. And that's why she threw that picture in my face because of how she feels. And Jenn said, I just don't understand why you would do this. So she says to Tamra, if my 14-year-old daughter did this to her friend, I would say you're being a little bitch. And I confirm and agree with you, Jenn. I have 2 daughters, and when they get older and they get in their little like teenage years, and sometimes girls like to gang up on girls, I never really experienced that or had that. So I'm glad for that. But obviously, we know that can happen. I feel like I've dealt with more girl drama in my adult life than I did as a teenager, to be honest. But I would definitely look at my daughters and say, you don't do that. You're doing something on purpose. And women, we all can be a little insecure with our looks. And especially, poor thing, Jenn was like, that was when I was like unhappily married. I was alone raising these kids. My husband was like at work all the time. And yeah, I would eat and I wasn't like fit like I am now. So I feel bad. That was rude. And you know what, Tamra, you look bad in that picture too. And I'm glad Gina said that. She went, to be honest, it's not a flattering photo of either of you. And it's like, it's not. So then this is Shannon's opportunity to finally open up to Tamra because it's perfect because they're talking about the photo. Shannon puts on her glasses to look at the photo and she's like, you know, Tamra, you just go so low. You go lower than all of us go, and it's supposed to just be okay because then you cry and you tell us you're sorry and that's how you are and you're going to therapy, but it's not okay. And she said, last year was one of the hardest years of my life, but you know what? Not having you in my life for like a year, I've never been happier. And I feel like that was 100% real coming out of Shannon's mouth. And it is true. Tamra hits so low below the belt that when you do it to her, it's not okay. Like, she thought it was awful and went on Instagram. I remember when she posted that video and she's crying, how people reached out to her daughter and she's like, that's not okay. Because her daughter kind of blew her spot up. Now, this was like years ago because it was from like a Facebook post, but it had recirculated last year and it said how like Tamra was like a bad mom to her and that's why she doesn't speak to her, and just this like novel of not wonderful things. And Tamra gets on Instagram and is crying. But in reality, you do mean things to people as well. So it's like 2 wrongs don't make a right, but don't act like you're just perfect and walking the earth like Jesus and doing no wrong. And everyone's attacking you because it's like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And that's exactly what happened to her at that dinner in New Orleans. She couldn't take the heat. She knew that they were all like kind of ganging up and she did the Xanax and she pieced out. She quit, quote unquote, quit. And I don't know. It's always a to be continued. And I'm like, oh my God. But then we did get a preview for next week. And by the way, I skipped over the part of saying the little sleepover setup that Heather paid for at her condo. That was so amazing. So she had a sleepover consultant. I mean, let's just call it a party planner. But that's so popular right now, doing like the inflatable mattresses and the tents and the string lights and all the BS for like the kids. And that's a lot of money when you pay a company to do it. I'm going to tell you right now because my friend did it. And it's a lot of money. And my other friend did it, but she bought everything. So she did spend money buying everything, but at least she keeps it and just recycles it and uses it. And if you think about it, if you buy it, you even could charge people to borrow it, like rent it. Like, that's a startup right there. You're starting your own little rental thing. I'm more of like the DIY as well. Obviously, I love to support small business as much as I can, but I, for example, probably would just end up buying the inflatable beds, setting up the tents, stringing the lights, and doing like the cute because I love to put together the cute, like, little signs and doing the snacks and stuff like that. So I would love to set it up myself. Obviously, if you're Heather, you have a budget beyond belief, so you can pay people to fill glass jars with gummy bears. Me, on the other hand, I could fill the glass jar with the gummy bears myself. But there are companies around here in Delaware that do it. There's one, it's called the Party Heist. They're the ones that really do the beds and stuff. I think you could do other stuff with them too, but it's like a give and take. It's like we're creative, and if we are stay-at-home moms, we have the time, we could do it ourselves. And then the hardworking moms, the 9 to 5 moms, maybe want to go the route and pay the company to do it, which is great. It's all great at the end of the day, and we all are doing these extravagant things for our kids. I mean, did we do these things? No. I went to like Discovery Zone, which was like a Chuck E. Cheese, and we called it a day. You know what I mean? We had the cardboard pizza there, and you had this like pre-made chocolate cake that just came from the place, and that was it. Everyone's all hocked up on sugar. Hocked to in the sugar later, maybe. And that was it. We called it a night after that. Now the kids' parties are getting a little cray, but it's because of like the celebrity influence. I mean, it's the damn Kardashians are like setting the bar for us, but then it's like we're over here with that not that budget, so we're trying to DIY everything. It's just crazy. But I feel like that's it for today. I know it's like a little short of an episode. This week was just a crazy week. I think I do want to close it out. I don't want to bring up anything controversial, and I never like to talk about politics because I truly believe everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but that's where it's bringing me to say everyone is entitled to their own opinion. What happened to Charlie Kirk was really sad, really devastating, and should be a lesson. And for some people, it's not a lesson. They are spewing hate and saying he deserved it, all because he has a different opinion. I know I have different opinions than people, and I know people have different opinions than me, but I would never harm people over it, nor would I wish harm on them or celebrate if something tragic like this happened, because he was 31 years old. And I'm going to tell you, I was 31 years old when my husband had a heart attack, and we have 2 young kids. And the thought that their dad wasn't going to be around and I was going to be a 31-year-old parent by myself makes my heart go out to that mother of those 2 kids, because those 2 kids now do not have a father. And I'm getting a little choked up because it's sad. And at the end of the day, that's what we have to think about and remember. We're putting his opinions, things he said that you may not have liked, aside. He was a human and a husband and father. And that's always what he said was most important to him over anything. His family, and his family is now mourning and grieving the loss of him. And it's sad. And I would be saying it's sad if this happened to anybody that was like that, even if I didn't agree with them. So not to be sad. And of course, never want to upset anybody. And don't ever really I don't like to talk about politics on here, because I also feel like people are listening to me to hear about Bravo. And that's what I always like to keep it about. I never like to get into that stuff. And that's just me. I know some people do, and that's fine. But I like to stick with what you guys are tuning in to listen to. And I just had to say that, though, because I think it was a very devastating thing that happened this week. And I'm praying for his family. His wife's name is Erica with a K also. So I am just thinking about them. And of course, it was 24 years for 9/11. That was crazy. I was 10 years old when 9/11 happened. I was in social studies in 5th grade when it happened. I was in school, and it's just, I can't believe it's been that long, but it also feels like it's been longer in some perspective, but it's just a sad week. And I hope that the hate can stop on both sides. I'm not saying any side is particularly right, but we should not be celebrating anybody's harm, anybody's death. That is just not right. And I know I would never do that, even if I don't agree with them. So we won't leave on that note because it's kind of depressing, but I will maybe try to leave it off on something funny. I saw Jeff Lewis had Teresa and Gia Giudice on his podcast, and I can't wait to listen to that episode. He was basically asking her why she wasn't on the test pilot. And she's like, I don't know. Does like the professor ever take the test with the students? And I was like, oh my God, Teresa said that. That was like pretty quick. And usually she doesn't have good comebacks like that. So I was like, did Gia tell her to say that beforehand? No, I'm just kidding. But I don't necessarily agree with that because if Melissa is testing that, it's like they want to test everybody because they want to see who fits, you know? Like, let's say they bring Teresa in to sit with some of the new people and she just doesn't like them at all. Well, then case closed, you're the one that's going to be fired. And if Melissa can sit down and be friends with them, then Melissa's going to stay. I'm truly sticking to my guns. This is how we'll leave off. Teresa is getting her own spinoff, and Melissa is staying on the Real Housewives because I think that's the only way we'll keep everyone happy. And that's what I want for going into next week. Let's all, like this week was very sad and somber. Let's have a good, positive week next week. And remember, I'm the one that told you that little facts and opinion about Beverly Hills, about New Jersey. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Bravo T with a stay-at-home mom. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. And I am so excited. I'm going to be releasing a bonus episode later this week with my girl, Brianna, because she is catching up on all the housewives. I told you guys that she hasn't watched before we go to BravoCon. So she's coming over. We're going to do a little happy hour and dinner. Her husband and daughter are coming over. So my daughters are so excited to see her daughter. And I'm going to steal her after we have our skinny spicy margarita, leave the men to socialize. And we're going to dish on all of the episodes. So we're going to be talking about like Orange County, Beverly Hills, New Jersey. So that's going to be a really fun bonus episode for you guys to listen to, have a cocktail, maybe listen to it with one of your girlfriends, and we can like reminisce. And I can't wait to hear all her first time reactions about these shows that most of us have already seen. So it's going to be really fun. So make sure you check out that.